Why do some men stay so quiet that you feel like you are living with a ghost? You see him every day. He eats at the same table, he pays all the bills, and he fixes what is broken around the house. But his heart? His heart is locked in a heavy iron box where nobody can touch it. You try to talk and he gives you one-word answers like fine or okay. You try to get close to hold his hand or ask what he's thinking, and he pulls away like you are trying to burn him with a hot iron. It's not that he doesn't have feelings, it's that he is terrified to show them. Many men have been taught to believe that if they show what's inside, their fears, their hurts, or their needs, they will lose their power, lose your respect, or get destroyed. Today we are going to talk about why men build these high walls around their hearts and why they think being empty on the outside is the only way to stay strong on the inside. We are going to look at the silent pain of the man who provides everything but shares nothing. I'm not here to impress the crowd. I'm here for that person that is quietly rebuilding their lives brick by brick. I'm here to break down the psychology most people ignore. If you're someone who wants to understand patterns instead of repeating them, you belong here. Subscribe if you value clarity over ego. Drop a comment and bring your perspective. Strong conversations build stronger minds. No blame, no bitterness, just awareness, discipline, and growth. To really understand this, we have to look at how a boy becomes a man. From the time a little boy is small, the world gives him a very hard set of rules. If he falls down and his knee is bleeding, he's told, "Stop that noise, be a big boy." If someone picks on him at school and he cries, he is told he is acting like a girl. This is the rule of the stone. He learns very early that feelings are things that make you look weak and get you laughed at. So he starts to push those feelings down into a dark corner of his mind. By the time he is 30 or 40 years old, he has become a master at hiding. He doesn't even know how to tell you he is sad because he has spent 30 years pretending he doesn't even know what sad feels like. He thinks that to be a man means to be like a mountain, unmoving, cold, and silent. In the world of relationships, we call this the shield. Think of a man like a warrior who has been in too many battles. Every time he opened his heart in the past, maybe to a mother who didn't listen, or a girlfriend who cheated, or a friend who betrayed him, he got a scar. His brain, which is designed to keep him alive, says that hurt too much. We will never let that happen again. So he puts on his armor. He decides that he will be the best provider you've ever seen. He will work 12 hours a day, he will make sure there is food on the table and the roof doesn't leak, but he will not let you see his deep self. He thinks that if you don't know his secrets or his worries, you cannot use them as a weapon against him when you get angry. He is living in a state of permanent defense. Let's look at a story about a man named Kola. Kola was a good man, a hard worker who never missed a day at the factory. He grew up watching his own father work until his hands were cracked and bleeding, and his father never once complained or said, "I love you." Kola thought that was the way to be a king. He married a woman named Titi. Titi loved Kola, but she wanted to know him. She would ask Kola, "What are you worried about?" Or, "Kola, tell me about your day." To Kola, these questions felt like someone poking at an old wound. He felt like she was trying to find a soft spot in his armor so she could control him. So Kola did what many men do. He went into his cave. He started staying late at the shop. When he came home, he sat in front of the TV for 5 hours without saying a word. He thought he was being a great husband because the bank account was full and the car was washed. But because Kola was closed, Titi felt like she was living with a stranger. She felt like she was starving for a kind word. She started shouting and picking fights just to get him to say anything, even if it was something mean. Kola saw the shouting and thought, "See, this is why I stay quiet. Women are just full of drama." He didn't realize that his own silence was the wind that was blowing the fire. Eventually, Titi packed her bags and left. Kola sat in his quiet house looking at the bills he had paid so faithfully and cried for the first time in 20 years. He lost his world because he thought his power was in his silence, but his power was actually a wall that kept love out. Another reason men go missing emotionally is something we can call brain fatigue. a man's life is often a series of problems he has to solve. From the moment he wakes up, he is thinking about how to get more money, how to stay ahead of the boss, how to fix the leaking pipe, and how to deal with the person who disrespected him. By the time he walks through his front door at night, his emotional battery is at 0%. He is empty. If the first thing he hears when he walks in is, "Why are you so quiet?" or "We need to talk about our feelings," his brain simply shuts down. It's like trying to start a car with no gas. He becomes unavailable, not because he hates you, but because he is trying to recharge in the only way he knows how, by being a ghost. Have you ever felt like you are shouting into a deep well and never hearing an echo back? Or men, do you feel like the more you try to provide, the more people ask for emotions that you just don't have left to give? Let's talk about it in the comments. Why is it so hard to bridge that gap between doing and feeling? We also have to look at the fear of the mirror. Many men are afraid that if they are honest with a woman, she will see that they are just human. They are afraid that if they say, "I'm scared I might lose my job," or "I don't feel respected," the woman will look at them with pity instead of love. They believe that a woman only wants a hero, and a hero isn't allowed to have a bad day. This is a very lonely way to live. When you are busy pretending to be a superhero, you can't be a husband or a father. You become a closed book because you are afraid that if anyone reads the pages, they will find out you don't have all the answers. But some men find a way to break the stone. Let's look at a story of growth about a man named Jude. Jude was just like Cola, a man of iron and silence. But after a big health scare, Jude realized that carrying all his stress alone was literally killing him. When he met a new woman named Amaka, he decided to try a new rule. He didn't start crying every day, but he started giving reports. He would tell Amaka, "My head is very heavy from work today. I need to sit on the porch for 30 minutes alone, and then I will come in and eat with you." This small change was like opening a window in a dusty room. By telling her where he was going in his mind, he wasn't unavailable anymore. He was still a strong man, but he was a man who used his words to build a bridge instead of a wall. Amaka felt like she was part of his life, and Jude felt like he didn't have to carry the whole mountain on his back. The growth for Jude was realizing that a man who can speak his truth is actually much stronger than a man who hides behind a fine. In the real world, men often look at relationships like a safe. They put their most valuable things, their trust and their heart, inside. But if they feel like the person they are with is careless with their feelings, they will change the code and lock it forever. A man stays unavailable when he feels that his truth will be used against him in the next argument. If he tells you a secret and you bring it up when you are mad, you have just told his brain, "Never be available again." To get a man to open up, the house must be a zone of peace, not a zone of judgment. Finally, we have to talk about the modern guard. Today, everything is fast and people leave easily. Because of this, many men have iron hearts. They think, "If I let her in and she leaves, I will be destroyed. But if I stay quiet and she leaves, I still have myself." They are choosing loneliness over risk. It's a sad choice, but for many it feels like the only safe one. They are waiting for a level of loyalty that they might never find because they aren't showing enough of themselves to build that loyalty in the first place. It's a circle that keeps men trapped in the dark. When a man decides to stay behind a wall, it is usually because he thinks the world is too loud and too dangerous. But what happens when that silence starts to kill the very love he worked so hard to build? Being unavailable might feel safe in the moment, but it is like building a house with no doors. Eventually, you will run out of air, and the people who love you will stop knocking. We are now going into the second part of this lesson, how to break the cycle of silence without losing your strength as a man. This is about learning that you can be a provider and a human being at the same time. I don't make content for the average mindset. I make it for the ones who hold themselves accountable. If you're someone who values clarity over conflict, this channel is for you. Subscribe if you want more psychological-driven breakdowns like this. Add your thoughts in the comments. Thoughtful conversations are always welcome here. Understanding first, judgment later. To fix a heart that has gone cold, we first have to understand the fear of the mirror. For many men, being emotionally unavailable isn't just about hiding from a woman, it's about hiding from themselves. If a man stops and actually feels his stress, his tiredness, or his sadness, he might feel like he's going to fall apart. He thinks, if I start feeling, I won't be able to stop, and then who will go to work tomorrow? Who will take care of the family? He stays closed because he thinks opening means falling. But here is the truth. A man who cannot feel is like a car with no fuel gauge. You might be driving fast, but you have no idea when you are going to run out of gas and break down in the middle of the road. This is why we see men who seem fine one day and then have a breakdown the next. They weren't available to their own needs. To be a strong man, you have to know what is happening under your own hood. Let's look at a story about a mistake. A man named Sam. Sam was a good provider. He worked 12 hours a day and brought home plenty of money, but he never talked to his wife, Mary, about anything real. When she asked how he was, he said, fine. When she asked about his dreams, he said, I don't have time for dreams. Sam thought he was being a rock, but over time, Mary stopped trying. She found her emotional food from her friends and her sisters. She lived in the same house as Sam, but she became emotionally unavailable back to him as a way to survive. One day, Sam got sick and couldn't work for a month. For the first time, he needed someone to talk to. He tried to open up to Mary, but it was too late. She didn't know how to listen to him anymore because he had trained her for 20 years to expect a stone. The lesson here is that if you don't exercise your emotions while things are good, they won't work when things get bad. Sam was a king in an empty castle. He had the money, but he had no connection. This is a pattern we call emotional atrophy. Just like a muscle that you don't use gets small and weak, your ability to connect with people gets weak if you stay unavailable too long. You start to feel awkward when people get close to you. You might even get angry when someone asks a deep question because you don't know the answer, and not knowing makes you feel not in control. How many of you feel tight in your chest when someone asks you, "What are you thinking?" Men, why does that question feel like a trap? And women, have you learned to ask better questions, or do you just keep hitting the same wall? Share your thoughts below. We need to learn how to talk without fighting. Now, let's look at how a man grows. We'll look at a man named Ben. Ben was very closed off because he had a very hard life. He thought that showing any feeling was girly or weak. But Ben noticed that his kids were starting to be afraid of him. They didn't come to him for help. They only went to their mother. This hurt Ben deeply. He didn't want to be a boss. He wanted to be a father. Ben started small. He didn't start by crying or sharing deep secrets. He started with honesty about the present. If he was tired, he would say, "I am very tired today, and I feel a bit frustrated." Just by naming the feeling, the power of the feeling went down. He wasn't unavailable anymore. He was just a man with a bad day. His kids started to see that he was human, and they started to trust him more. Ben learned that availability doesn't mean weakness, it means presence. Being there is the greatest gift a man can give. In the red pill world, we talk about the burden of performance. Men feel they always have to be the winner, but a real winner knows when to rest. Emotional availability is just resting with your partner. It is letting your guard down so you can recharge. If you never let your guard down, you are always on duty, and that leads to burnout. An unavailable man is usually just a burned out man who is trying to survive. To the women listening, if you want a man to open up, you have to stop interrogating him. If you ask a man, "What are you feeling?" 10 times a day, he will run away. Instead, show him gratitude for the things he does do. When a man feels appreciated for his hard work, he feels safe. And when a man feels safe, he naturally starts to unlock the door. You cannot force a man to be available. You can only make the home a place where he doesn't feel he needs a shield. To the men listening, being a silent stone is not a strategy, it is a fear. You are afraid that if you show who you are, you won't be enough. But the truth is, the people who love you already know you aren't perfect. They just want to know you're in there. You don't have to be a poet, you just have to be visible. Start by telling one small truth a day. Tell your partner one thing you are worried about or one thing you are proud of. The mechanics of reopening are simple but hard. It takes discipline to talk when you want to hide. It takes bravery to be seen, but the reward is a life where you aren't alone. An unavailable man is a man who is starving in the middle of a feast. He has a family, he has a partner, but he can't taste the love because his mouth is shut tight. In modern times, we see many men choosing to be unavailable because they are tired of the drama. They think that if they don't get involved, they won't get hurt. But avoidance is not peace. Peace is being able to walk through the storm and stay calm. If you are just hiding from the storm, you are still a prisoner of the weather. Becoming available is a sign of a high-value man. It shows you have so much internal strength that you aren't afraid of a conversation. It shows you are the master of your frame because you can let people in without losing your direction. It is the final step in becoming a truly grounded man. As we end this talk, remember that your walls were built to protect you when you were small or when you were hurt. But you aren't small anymore, and you can handle more than you think. Don't let your shield become your casket. Open the door a little bit today. You might find that the world isn't as scary as you thought when you have someone walking beside you instead of just behind you. The fact that you're still here tells me something about you. You don't shy away from uncomfortable truths. You sit with them, you think through them, and most importantly, you use what you learn to grow. That's rare. By watching this, you're not just consuming content, you're actively building yourself, shaping your mindset, and sharpening your awareness. And in this space, you're not alone. There's a community of people committed to understanding behavior, setting boundaries, and improving themselves. If this video gave you insight, clarity, or even a small shift in perspective, subscribe and stay part of this journey. Drop a comment below and share what resonated with you or any experience you've had that connects with this. I read every comment and your voice matters here. Keep challenging yourself, keep applying what you learn, keep doing the work. I'll see you in the next one.